I'm sure all of you remember the now infamous chess cheating scandal that rocked the entire planet due to the absurd nature of some of the claims, where one of the best chess players of all time, Magnus Carlsen, lost, and he insinuated that his opponent may have used less than honorable methods to achieve their victory. As a result, his opponent, Hans Niemann, was accused by many of being a potential cheater. And one of the theories that was cooked up, mostly in jest by a lot of people, but some very vehemently defended the idea that Hans Niemann may have cheated by having anal beads in his rectum. And just when you thought it was safe to go to a chess tournament with your sphincter unclenched, we see a very similar thing happen today. So that whole situation with Magnus Carlsen and Hans Niemann had a conclusion. That had a whole season finale, a whole ending arc. But the idea of anal beads to cheat still persists. And we've now just seen a new accusation against another Chinese chess player this time that they may have cheated using a similar piece of technology, a similar nefarious method for cheating. So there is a claim that someone who just won the championship did so by having a device planted in their colon where they would rhythmically tighten their sphincter in order to send signals back about the positioning on the board and then receive information on the best move to play. So it's the exact same concept. History truly does repeat itself. And so the champion has been accused of cheating, but that hasn't been proven 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt. But what has been proven is that he has pooped in a bathtub. I've been unable to locate crime scene photographic evidence, so I don't know if this is a Caddyshack moment with like just one turd floating around, or if this was like destroying the bathtub beyond all salvation. I'm not sure. But because he shit in the bathtub, he has been stripped of his championship title due to his bad behavior. One moment of weakness, some Hershey squirting accident in the bathtub has now cost him the title of champion. I went over it on stream, so I'll show you clips from that, but I also wanted to go over a little bit from the Mr. Beast D's Nuts lawsuit that I touched on last night, because I didn't even know that was going on, and I found that to be pretty interesting too. The Chinese chess champion stripped of title after defecating in hotel bathtub, allegedly used anal beads to cheat. I saw the headline, I haven't looked at it. Let's take a peek. So Chinese chess is different than normal chess. It's a completely different set of rules. This led to a lot of confusion on Twitter from what I saw. But I'm very curious how pooping in a bathtub would somehow give him the tools he needed to win this match. I feel like that'd be a detriment more than anything. The world of Chinese chess is in an uproar over rumors of cheating and a bad behavior scandal that saw the national champion stripped of his title on Monday after a victory celebration ended with him defecating in a hotel bathtub. I mean, if you're not shitting in a bathtub, are you even really celebrating? I don't even know why they'd be upset about that. Why would that be an issue? His joy was short-lived, with the CXA on Monday announcing that Yan would have his title revoked and prize money confiscated after he had been caught disrupting public order and displaying extremely bad character. The association was also forced to address rumors circulating online that Yan had cheated during the competition by using anal beads equipped with wireless transmitters to send and receive signals. How would that work, though? You can't have anal beads and be in a bathtub at the same time. Like, those two just wouldn't mix, right? I imagine the water would short-circuit it. Or maybe I'm just not familiar with where anal bead technology is. Maybe it's more sophisticated than I give it credit for. Yan allegedly clinched and unclinched rhythmically to communicate information about the chessboard via code to a computer, which then sent back instructions on what moves to make in the form of vibrations, according to reports circulating on Chinese social site Weibo. Based on our understanding of the situation, it's currently impossible to prove that Yan engaged in cheating via anal beads as speculated on social media. But he was stripped of his title and banned from playing for a year after his celebration went wayward. Yan consumed alcohol with others in his room on the night of the 17th and then defecated in the bathtub of the room he was staying in on the 18th. In an act that damaged hotel property, violated public order and good morals, had a negative impact on the competition and the event, and was extremely bad character. Okay, I misunderstood. I thought he was playing Chinese chess in the bathtub for the championship and then pooped himself. Okay, so these are totally separate instances. So he's being accused of cheating via the anal beads method, and then after winning via cheating, went and pooped in the bathtub. Got it. Okay. Used his prostate as a Morse code receptor. Well, not a receptor, a Morse code transmitter. It's basically like the Lorenz machine from the World War II era. He's sending code back. I'm curious, is there any more on this? I want to see the scene of the crime. Can I see how much poop was in the bathtub? Like, maybe it was just like a small log. Or maybe he'd like actually destroyed the bathroom. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have any proof of the defecating. I'll take their word for it, though. God, I just need you to see this. This isn't necessarily about the story, but this is the most ads I've ever seen on a website so far. Since I turned off ad blocks, that way I don't have to, like, go around and go through hoops to get to websites anymore, this is what I get. This is unusable. This is actually unfucking usable. It's 5 ads per 3 blocks of text. Per 3 blocks of text. Bare minimum. Bare minimum. And auto-playing videos out the wazoo. It's fucking miserable. I'm just trying to see a picture of the pooped-in bathtub. That's it. Did you see the latest on Wander Franco? He was on the run in the Dominican Republic and police found him today. Oh, they already found him? Damn, one of the video ideas we had was to track down Wander Franco, since he played for the Rays. We thought it'd be fun if we were the ones to catch him, like Dog the Bounty Hunter. Fuck, they beat us to it? Okay. YouTuber Mr. Beast. Oh, he lost. Loses D's Nuts lawsuit against Florida company. I thought this was an ongoing thing. Mr. Beast was ordered to stop selling candy with the name D's Nuts after losing a lawsuit to a Florida business owner. Damn, you can't fuck with Florida, I guess. Who got him? A Jacksonville man took Feastables and Donaldson to federal court after he noticed the name sounds similar to his gourmet peanut business, D's Nuts. Oh, interesting. Okay. So these nuts belong to D. So D's Nuts owner Brian Detour named the company after his grandma D and owns the copyright. In the lawsuit, Detour claimed Donaldson's near-identical product name was dominating search engine traffic that would have otherwise gone to his company. Detour argued that the use of D's Nuts was causing confusion, mistake, or deception and infringed on his copyright. His attorneys filed an injunction last week seeking to block Donaldson from using the name. On Wednesday, U.S. District Court judge sided with Detour and ordered Donaldson to stop using D's Nuts or a similar name. The candy was still available for sale with its original name on the Feastables website as of Thursday. That's super interesting because it's just after the meme. But it is a similar product to what he was selling, I guess, so you could make the argument. No, I guess not really, though. He's making a gourmet peanut. This is chocolate with peanuts. I don't know. He lost, though. I'm not a fucking judge. I would say it's clearly not meant to infringe on your copyright. It's based off of an extremely popular meme. I just don't really see who would get confused. Him saying the traffic would otherwise go to his company is interesting. Yeah, it really is a very interesting claim to be making. But he won, so it worked out. 2 weeks ago, a cheating scandal caught the attention of the entire world, and since then, it's been a non-stop roller coaster of action, drama, suspense, mystery, blood, violence, and it's just been unreal to watch it all unfold over the last few weeks. It's becoming one of my favorite shows, up there with like Breaking Bad. There has been more plot development and character arcs and shit in this drama than in most major television programs. I'm talking, of course, about the Hans Niemann vs. Magnus Carlsen cheating scandal. I covered this when it first started 2 weeks ago, but I'll give you the quick, dirty, and sloppy of it. So Magnus Carlsen is the best chess player in the world, and in a recent tournament, he went up against Hans Niemann, who was a lower-ranked player. It was expected to be a complete fucking steamroll, but Hans Niemann was able to pull off the upset and beat Magnus Carlsen, and in a subsequent interview didn't do a great job of explaining his prep and how he was able to do it, so this led to a lot of people getting suspicious, as well as Magnus Carlsen himself withdrawing from that tournament and then making hard accusations of cheating against Niemann later on. And I followed it ever since. I've only made 2 videos discussing it, but I've been following it actively on stream. I've become this rabid animal hungry for more chess drama developments. I'm constantly refreshing the chess subreddit to see if there's any new bombshells dropping, and when there's not, I'm scratching at my neck, and I feel off. You know, it's kind of like Bane, how he has to be like sucking on that venom to stay big and strong, or even to survive. That's me with this chess cheating drama. It's just so wacky and wild. The main thing that put this into the public eye is the anal bead controversy. I'll give you the brief rundown here, the cliff notes. People speculated that Hans Niemann may have cheated against Magnus Carlsen by having vibrating anal beads in his asshole that would vibrate, telling him the best moves to play against him. That's what the media latched onto, and that's what got people drawn in. Now, that's of course not entirely accurate. There's no proof of any kind of high-tech butt plug or any kind of rectal devices that Hans Niemann may have employed during this match. There's no evidence there, and we don't have a time machine to go back and have Hans goatsy himself so we can check for ourselves, so that is still always just going to remain a bit of a fan theory, some fanfic. But since then, there's been so much that's happened. I'll go ahead and fill you in on the most recent stuff. Hans Niemann's coach, Maxim Delugi, was publicly outed as a cheater. There was a massive write-up all about how Delugi has cheated in the past. He's even admitted to cheating, and this was obviously a pretty big deal since not only is Maxim Delugi a very big chess player in and of his own right, he even has his own school, but he is the coach of Hans Niemann, who is also being accused of cheating, so it's obviously a bit of a bad look here. But of course it would be foolish to say that because Hans Niemann's coach was cheating, he himself is also cheating. You know, he's not like some baby latched on to Maxim Delugi's tit and suckling milk from it and emulating him. So I think the people that were using this as definitive proof that Hans Niemann was a cheater as well, I think is a bit ridiculous. But today, yesterday actually, time is moving so weird recently. Like, this drama has created this weird like time dilation vortex where everything moves at a different speed. So I'm getting confused on what day it is now. But yesterday, Hans Niemann was once again thrown into the spotlight with even harder accusations of cheating, this time by Chess.com themselves, who defended their position for why they banned him by releasing a massive report that claims that Hans Niemann most likely cheated in over 100 online games. This is a 72-page report that attempts to prove that Hans Niemann most likely cheated in multiple online games, some of them online games for prize money. Now, Hans did admit that he's cheated in his past before, but he maintained that they were mainly unranked games and that he had only cheated like when he was 12 for online prize money. But this report seems to indicate that he has cheated in more online games than he let on, as well as some of them, a few of them, being for online prize money. And for some reason, people were calling this a nothing burger. And I had to scratch my head. Myself, as well as many others, immediately recognized that this is not a nothing burger. At the very least, this is a something burger junior with a side of fries, because it also includes emails between Chess.com and Hans Niemann, where Hans Niemann does openly confess to cheating in at least one instance, where he claims that he was having someone help him with moves in order to test Chess.com's systems, which I think is kind of weird. You know, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That seems like an excuse I would have come up with when I was in high school for why I didn't do my homework. Now, yes, the report from Chess.com lacks any hard evidence to suggest Hans Niemann has ever cheated in over-the-board chess, but this is a reputational nuke. This is a huge deal because it directly contradicts not only the claims Hans Niemann made about himself and the amount of times he's cheated, but also showcases that he has cheated a lot in general. You might remember during an interview after all of this started blowing up, Hans Niemann publicly confessed to cheating in his past. He said he cheated when he was 12 as well as when he was 16, all online games, maintained his innocence in over-the-board chess, but said he has cheated in online spaces before. When he was 16, it was mainly to like speed run the ranks a little bit so he could climb faster so his streams would pop off more because the stronger the player, the stronger the audience. But he really kind of made it seem like it wasn't something he was doing super frequently, over 100 times. And according to the Chess.com report, some of those were with prize money on the line. So that is a massive deal because at that point, you're scamming your competitors out of potential winnings because of cheating. Like, that is a huge deal. And not all of that happened when he was 12 and 16. The Chess.com report indicates he may have been 17 during some of the cheating, and not all of the prize money cheating was when he was 12, apparently, I suppose. Now, there is another little dessert item here that I think is worth mentioning. Chess.com is currently in the process of acquiring Play Magnus Group, which is Magnus Carlsen's chess group, for $82 million. An $82 million merger with Magnus Carlsen. So why is this prudent? Well, it should be obvious, because it's in Chess.com's best interest to side with Magnus Carlsen. Now, whether or not this would skew any of their data or make them unreliable to analyze these things, I don't know. I'm not smart enough. But clearly, since they just spent this much money on Magnus Carlsen and his group, they're not going to paint him in a bad light. And of course, after spending this much money, they're going to be on his side for everything, I imagine. Magnus Carlsen could release a tweet right now saying the world is flat, and Chess.com might retweet it saying he's right, and here's our proof to corroborate Magnus Carlsen. I'm of course joking around, but the point is, they've spent so much money, this is their future business partner, they are clearly going to be on his side, in his corner. I don't know if this means that their report is a hit piece or anything. I don't think so, because it really just seems like a very clear-cut analysis, data that they've all looked at and concluded that there is a high chance that Hans Niemann has cheated more times than he's let on. I don't think that's necessarily been influenced by their business partnership with Magnus Carlsen, and they haven't submitted any evidence to suggest Hans Niemann cheated against Magnus, so it's not like they're out there saying, no, Hans Niemann absolutely cheated against Magnus. They're not saying that. They are just releasing information that continues to say that Hans Niemann has a cheating past, which he does and he has admitted to, and Chess.com has shown that it's more than he's said. So this has been just such a crazy adventure so far, and I don't think it's even close to over. So far, Hans Niemann hasn't said anything about the Chess.com report because he's currently competing at the US Championships right now. Here's a screenshot I took of him going through security. As you can see, they've really beefed up security here, checking for any electronic devices there with that wand. Now, I took the screenshot while he was looking at Hans Niemann's asshole, but he didn't spend a whole lot of time in that region, and I will critique that. I feel like he should have put special emphasis on making sure there were no anal beads. They didn't do any cavity searches or anything, they're just sticking with the wand. And who knows, maybe Niemann and his laboratory have come up with a way of having these butt plugs not be picked up by the wands. You know, you can never be too safe, right? That's what I always say. But yeah, once again, there hasn't been concrete proof to prove that he cheats in over-the-board chess. However, it is absolutely worth mentioning there have been a lot of reports as well as independent tests conducted on some of Hans Niemann's games as well as his growth as a player. And a lot of it is pretty suspicious, I would say. Again, I'm an 1100 player. I'm nowhere near qualified enough to opine on the evidence that's been submitted. But I will say all of it is looking at the games and comparing them to engine moves, as well as comparing his growth to some of the greats in the chess community, and them pointing out the oddities of it. I myself can't really wrap my head around a lot of it, though of course some things that stand out are some of his games being 100% in line with moves engines would make, as well as a couple of other things. But overall, there has still not been any evidence to suggest how Hans Niemann cheated against Magnus Carlsen, or if he 100% did cheat against Magnus Carlsen. Because again, there are some GMs out there that are maintaining that Hans Niemann may have cheated in online games, but has still not cheated in over-the-board games, stating that Magnus Carlsen really did just play poorly against Niemann at that cup. And yeah, so it's still a very interesting landscape right now, and I'm really curious to see where it goes from here. I absolutely think Hans Niemann needs to respond to this Chess.com article because I think it's a very big deal, and a lot of what they brought up is pretty important things for him to discuss. And yeah, that's about it. See ya. Yeah, I'm a filthy little greasy goblin today. Clearly I haven't showered yet, and maybe I won't shower today. That's the beauty of being an adult. I get to make my own gross choices. But what I'm choosing to do before showering, at the very least, is talk about the most wild development in any drama situation I've seen so far. Across the entirety of my time on the internet, I haven't seen drama reach this climax before. I'll go ahead and speed run the breakdown of the chess cheating drama that's been going on for over a month now. I've been following it since the Genesis. It has been a non-stop, action-packed, wild and wacky ride straight into fucking drama Valhalla. It has been the gift that just keeps on giving. the carved wood drama is unlike anything I've seen before. It all started when Hans Niemann played Magnus Carlsen at a tournament. Hans Niemann beat Magnus Carlsen, which was a surprise to the entire chess world since Magnus Carlsen is the best. And then Magnus Carlsen made a loose accusation of cheating against him. The entire chess community then started accusing him of cheating against Magnus in order to win. That's when the anal bead cheating theory was hatched. Some people speculated he may have had Stockfish, a chess engine, stuffed into a small butt plug that he inserted into his asshole before the tournament, which fed him the correct moves. This was more or less just a meme theory, but a lot of people truly believed Hans Niemann was cheating. Eventually, it came out that Hans Niemann did actually cheat in online games. Hans Niemann even confessed openly to cheating in online games, but maintained his innocence in over-the-board physical chess matches. And then Chess.com came out with evidence against Hans Niemann that he has cheated in more online games than he initially let on, including online games for tournament money, and more than he had initially said to the community. And that's where the drama had stopped until today, where Hans Niemann published this lawsuit going after all of the people that have been very staunchly against him and hard accusing him of cheating. A $100 million lawsuit has just been filed by Hans Niemann against Magnus Carlsen, Magnus Carlsen's company, Play Magnus, Danny Wrench and Chess.com, and Hikaru Nakamura. A $100 million minimum lawsuit. Now, this is a defamation case. Hans alleges that all of the cheating accusations he's been slapped in the face with have had a detrimental impact on his career and his reputation, and also are hindering his future in the profession that he's dedicated so much time for, which is obviously true. I think there is somewhat of a real concern of being blacklisted from tournaments going forward just based off the reputation as a whole. But also, Magnus Carlsen said he refuses to play Hans Niemann. The last time the two met each other after this cheating scandal, Magnus Carlsen resigned after 2 moves. He just fucking rage quit. Man just fucking disconnected the Ethernet cord and left the Call of Duty lobby. He just outright immediately forfeited because he just refuses to play Hans Niemann, believing that he's a cheater. So this means that if a tournament wants to have Hans Niemann and Magnus Carlsen competing, they really can't. They'll have to choose one or the other, because if the two meet again, Magnus will likely just flip the board once again. So this could absolutely impede Hans Niemann's career going forward, as well as the opportunities and tournaments he can play for. Now again, I really do want to drive this home. While Hans Niemann has publicly confessed to cheating and Chess.com has publicly come out with more evidence to confirm his online cheating, he still 100% maintains he's never cheated in over-the-board chess, and as of this moment, there is still not concrete 100% confirmed proof that Hans Niemann has cheated in over-the-board chess or cheated against Magnus Carlsen. And we may never know if he did. You know, we can't go back in time and spread his butthole in front of the camera and check if there's anything there. We just don't have that ability to do that yet. Now, I do want to mention there have been studies run on Hans Niemann's performance, and some of them raise some concerns amongst the community. There also have been chess engine correlation reports run on Hans Niemann's games to see how many of his moves correlate to moves engines would make. But all of these, as I understand them, aren't definitive proof that he is cheating. So we just don't know for sure yet. Everyone's going to have different opinions on it, and it's just such a messy situation. And now we have this lawsuit to dissect. So, like I mentioned, he is suing some of the people that have been hard accusing him of cheating for at least $100 million. I'll go ahead and stand up in front of the class and read it out loud. Accordingly, Niemann is entitled to a money judgment against defendants in an amount to be determined at trial, but not less than $100 million, including compensatory, consequential, and punitive damages. So this is where the at least 100 million comes from. It looks like, you know, he's not going to settle for anything shy of 100 million. He won't even get out of bed for anything below 9 figures here, which seems like a lot right away. I bet you could add every single chess player's winnings for the last 100 years together, and it wouldn't even come close to 100 mil. So this number is shooting for the stars here. And just for reference, here's the top 10 all-time prize money winners. They're not even breaking 10 mil. So it really seems like that number is way out of proportion here. Hans Niemann could play chess professionally for the next 1,000 years and never even come close to earning $100 million. So those damages seem outrageous, but I'm not a lawyer, and from what I understand, this is very normal in defamation cases where they just put an absolutely astronomical number there just to try and get as much juice for the squeeze as possible and make it like as big and scary and intimidating as it can be. I don't think they're actually hoping to get that much. Wherefore, Niemann hereby requests that the court grant the following relief. On the first cause of action, money judgment in favor of Niemann against defendants, the specific amount of which to be determined at trial, but not less than 100 million plus pre-judgment interest. And then B, second cause of action, same thing, no less than 100 mil plus pre-judgment interest. Point C, third cause of action in favor of Niemann, not less than 100 million plus pre-judgment interest. Point D is a little bit different. Money judgment in favor of Niemann against defendant, specific amount of which to be determined at trial plus prejudgment interest. This doesn't have 100 million listed there for some reason, but it's the exact same wording. And then point E, fifth cause of action, no less than 100 mil. Now, this is where my little reptile brain started to malfunction and overheat here, because it looks to me like it's 4 separate asks of 100 million each, which would be a $400 million total. And that's how a lot of other people interpreted it as well. But after doing a little more research and seeing what a lot of lawyers are saying about it, it appears that these 4 things that list 100 mil as like the damage is if any of these 4 are found to be truthful, then any one of them should amount to 100 million in relief to Hans. At least that's how some of the lawyers have broke it down. Basically, the reason it's there 4 times is if any of these are found true, then it should be 100 mil, and it's not going to stack. So if multiple are found true, it'll still just be 100 mil. It's not like additional or anything like that. So I'm going to run with that because that's what makes the most sense to me. Once it was explained, I don't know if I'm doing it justice and explaining it to you guys, but it looks like the total is 100 million, not 400. Either way, though, that is still a super duper high amount to be suing for here. Now, after reading and watching some lawyers break this down, most of them were giving their perspective on whether or not this is even like a winnable case in any capacity for Hans Niemann, because there are some sections of this lawsuit that are just downright weak that they point out, but also some of it just reads like an angry blog post from like a salty soccer mom in a couple places. Like there's a whole section where they just put in parentheses king of chess when referring to Magnus Carlsen and talking about him being a coward or a sore loser who couldn't accept losing to Hans Niemann. So things like that stood out to me as like, wow, that doesn't sound professional. I wouldn't expect to see that kind of language in a lawsuit. But the lawyers were more focused on whether or not this was a legitimately winnable case. And most of them agree that the lawsuit does actually have some bite to it, but not all of it. So Hikaru Nakamura being listed here seems like that's completely a lost cause. They were kind of scratching their head on that one because in order for Hans Niemann to win against Hikaru, he'd have to prove that Hikaru knew Hans wasn't cheating, knew the evidence wasn't legitimate evidence, and then still accused him of cheating anyway. Which of course sounds impossible to prove. But his claims against the Magnus Carlsen and Play Magnus as well as Chess.com, most of them were saying there is a chance for Hans Niemann to squeak out a victory here because there isn't actual evidence to prove he's cheated at the moment. So it would all come down to discovery. Most of them were saying discovery will be like the actual deciding factor in how this case goes because they're going to need to prove that they have real evidence that Hans is cheating in over-the-board chess, at least according to some of the lawyers I've watched. Otherwise, Hans Niemann does have a case against them for the defamatory statements of cheating and the accusations and implying that he's cheating because it's such a reputationally damaging thing that impedes his ability to compete further. Overall, though, what a crazy development in this whole chess cheating scandal drama. We started from anal beads and now look at us. Yeah, this shit is just going insano style. So yeah, just wanted to drop that hot plate of spaghetti and meatballs on the table for you here because, wow, that's really about it. So yeah. 11 months ago, the internet was set ablaze by an explosive scandal that gripped us all by the throat and wouldn't let go. A cheating scandal that changed butt plugs forever. I'm talking, of course, about Hans Niemann vs. Magnus Carlsen chess cheating allegations. I'll go ahead and bring you up to speed with a brief lore recap in case you forgot. Hans Niemann is a very strong chess player, and he played against one of the best of all time, Magnus Carlsen, in a tournament. And Hans Niemann shocked the chess world when he beat Magnus. But no one was more shocked than Magnus, and he made some insinuations that there may have been foul play afoot during their match. He outright refused to play against Hans going forward, and it got real messy real quick. We started playing in the pig pen and things were getting dirty. This led to a huge avalanche effect where everyone was coming out to speculate on what the fuck was going on. And not just smooth-brained goober idiots like myself, but some of the most well-respected players in the entire world, grandmasters, came forward to offer their perspective on this. And Hans Niemann did have a past of cheating in online chess, but never in person. And cheating in an in-person over-the-board chess event is a very hard thing to prove. Eventually, the community started to come up with their own theories on how could he have cheated if he did. And naturally, the only sane explanation that makes sense, the only logical conclusion to draw, is that Hans Niemann must have cheated by having a vibrating butt plug lodged deep inside of his asshole that would vibrate for the correct moves to play against Magnus in this match. Thus spawned the butt plug cheating scandal that took the world by storm. It's important to note that that whole theory was only half serious. Like, I don't know how many people are diehard butt plug believers in this case, but it is like a possibility. The tech was even proven by some of the brightest minds in America. We damn near revived Oppenheimer to build a functioning chess bot butt plug. We had a lot of people on YouTube in particular come forward and make working prototype chess bot butt plugs that you could plug into your colon to help you be better at chess, just to prove that, you know, we as a species can make this. We have the technology. But the whole belief that this was a real thing wasn't the most grounded in reality. Like, it wasn't super serious, but it was fun. And that's why everyone latched onto it. But it really wasn't fun for Hans Niemann, whom his entire career was starting to crumble around him because of this reputation that he may have cheated. There's a lot of moving parts under the hood of this vehicle, and I'm not a fucking mechanic, so a lot of things that started happening behind the scenes I am unaware of. Most people are. There's only a handful of people that really know all of the particulars that started to go on behind the scenes, but what we do know is Chess.com launched an investigation of their own against Niemann to investigate the cheating allegations. They wanted to see if there was any evidence that Hans Niemann may have cheated against Magnus. Fast forward, investigation concludes, Chess.com finds no hard proof that Hans Niemann ever cheated in over-the-board chess, but they do find more evidence that Hans Niemann may have cheated in more online chess than he had initially led people to believe. Eventually, another person gets involved. His name is Hikaru. He's the biggest chess streamer and one of the best players in the world. Hikaru gets involved in this directly by making some hard claims during this whole situation, which only further damages Hans. So eventually, Hans Niemann launches a lawsuit against everyone. Chess.com, Magnus Carlsen, and Hikaru. It's a $100 million defamation lawsuit. And that brings us to today. That lawsuit has concluded. It has all been settled now, and sports fans, let me be the first to tell you, it's a bit of a surprising ending to this one, all things considered. Chess.com put out a statement saying that all the sides here have been working together to negotiate in good faith to resolve everything without further litigation, and they're happy to share that they've finally made it there. They're finally all coming together, holding hands and saying, you know what, group hug in the shower, no need for any more hostility. Which is not the ending I was expecting to the Game of Thrones here. So, Chess.com released a statement saying, we're pleased to report that we've reached an agreement with Hans Niemann to put our differences behind us and move forward together without further litigation. At this time, Hans has been fully reinstated by Chess.com, and we look forward to his participation in our events. We'd also like to reaffirm that we stand by the findings in our October 2022 public report regarding Hans, including that we found no determinative evidence that he has cheated in any in-person games. We all love chess and appreciate all of the passionate fans and community members who allowed us to do what we do. I really thought this was going to be a much longer case that wouldn't have a happy ending here. I was expecting this to get extremely cutthroat. I thought we were going to be seeing some kind of biblical court smackdown where Hans Niemann comes in with some crazy evidence that everyone but him is a cheater. He like fucking scholars mates the entire chess community. Like, I was really expecting this to not have a happy resolution, but I'm pleasantly surprised to see that it does. I gotta be honest with all of you here, though, sports fans. Just like the man in the yellow hat, my George is getting a bit curious as to what this agreement they reached could have possibly looked like. It had to be financial.
Like, if you checked Hans Niemann's ass right now, you wouldn't find a butt plug, you'd find a lot of money. Like, this had to be some kind of financial agreement they reached because Hans Niemann's career took a huge hit from all of this. In the chess world, the biggest, most prestigious tournaments with the best players in the world are invitation only. And take a guess who wasn't getting invited to these events. That's right, the bad boy of the bong cloud, Hans Niemann. So his career kind of did nosedive from all of this because he was labeled a potential cheater. So he hasn't been able to play against the best in the world anymore. So I feel like the only way that he would have had an agreement that was satisfactory is if somehow they paid him a lot of money to be okay with it, to not drag this out any longer. That's just my guess. But that could be as ludicrous as the butt plug theory in the first place. I don't know. Maybe Hans Niemann just wanted like a very sincere apology from everyone involved and he got it. That's very possible. I have no idea. But it is important to note, his career really did reach a complete standstill from all of this. Now, one thing everyone has said, and I agree with, is that this never would have reached this point or even probably happened in the first place if Hans Niemann didn't have a history of cheating in online chess when he was younger. That is a very crucial component to why this spiraled out of control the way it did. And obviously it's a huge factor in why people were taking sides so strongly. One's a cheater, always a cheater. No, but wait, there's no proof of him ever cheating in over-the-board chess. We can't just go off of his past when he was a younger kid. Like, come on. So it led to a lot of messiness in the entire community. This whole thing was very unfortunate for literally everybody involved. But I do want to go ahead and look at both Magnus Carlsen's statement and Hans Niemann's statement. Magnus Carlsen said, "I acknowledge and understand Chess.com's report, including its statement that there is no determinative evidence that Niemann cheated in his game against me at the Sinquefield Cup. I am willing to play Niemann in future events should we be paired together." Hans Niemann said, "I am pleased that my lawsuit against Magnus Carlsen and Chess.com has been resolved in a mutually acceptable manner and that I am returning to Chess.com. I look forward to competing against Magnus in chess rather than in court and am grateful to my attorneys at Ovid and Ovid for believing in me and helping me resolve this case." So it seems like everything going forward will be business as usual. Magnus Carlsen will no longer just throw if he plays against Hans, and the two will go back to playing very high-level chess. It remains to be seen if Hans Niemann will now start to get invited to more of the bigger chess events that he's been missing out on. Chess.com seems to say that he's welcome to be at their events now, so he can start participating again at the highest level. So we're just going to have to wait and see how all of that unfolds. Hans Niemann did, however, release another video of his own here, where he gets like right up in the camera like the goddamn Joker in The Dark Knight here, saying, "Hey, I'm fucking back, baby."
Hello, chess worlds. Did you miss me? There will be a day when I will be the best chess player in the world, and I think it's time to let my chess speak for itself.
It's like a fucking WWE intro out here. So he does also say in that video that he still believes the Chess.com reports are defamatory and denies some of the allegations from it, but overall is still pleased that the whole situation is behind them now, so that way he can continue to move forward and play at the highest level. So that's where this whole cheating scandal finishes, I guess. 11 months in the making, and overall a pretty happy ending for most people involved in this case, it seems. So yeah, just wanted to give you the definitive update on it with the finale, and that's about it. So yeah. If you're standing up, you're going to want to sit down. You're going to want to take a seat for this news. It's hard-hitting, like getting a call that Meemaw slipped and fell, except this isn't sad news, this is truly just baffling news. Right now in the chess community, there is a cheating scandal that's been going on for a couple weeks now that is so nefarious and so dubious, it'll have you questioning everything in your life. You won't know what's real and what's fake anymore once I reveal this to you. You'll start wondering if your parents are even your real biological parents, you know? It's gonna change your universe, you know? You'll start wondering, is the queen even dead? It goes so deep beyond chess. Like, I don't care if you have no interest in chess whatsoever, I really think this cheating scandal is still going to be captivating to you. Now, if you watch my streams, twitch.tv/moistcritical, feel free to stop in, stream every day, put a few extra inches on your penis. I've been following this since it happened, since ground zero, patient zero. The day that this began,
I was actively following it on stream and going over everything as it developed. And now we've reached the point where it's spiraled so far out of control that it's just inducing madness. I feel like that scene in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where he's got like the corkboard with all of the evidence and everything pointing to one name, Pepe Silvia. Like, it's become so convoluted and crazy. I just need to give you a quick spoiler to get you hooked on this story. The cheating allegations involve high-tech anal beads vibrating in a chess grandmaster's ass to transmit the best possible moves in order to win a match. That's the level of wildness we're dealing with here. I can't wait to share it, so let's get into it. I can't show any clips from the actual chess tournament where all this took place, or even subsequent clips of interviews, because as I understand it, they're very strict with that. So I'm just going to have to paint a picture with words and show you some corresponding tweets and articles and everything. So in a nutshell, what happened is the #1 chess player in the world, Magnus Carlsen, was competing in a tournament and was facing off against Hans Niemann, a very strong grandmaster, however not nearly to the level of Magnus Carlsen. This should have been an absolute steamroll. Everyone expected Magnus to just blue waffle Hans here, just kind of a throwaway, especially considering that Magnus Carlsen was playing the white pieces. For those that aren't familiar with chess, white pieces move first. And in the upper echelon of chess, that's a difference maker. It's a huge advantage. So you have the best player in the world with an advantage facing off against the lowest rated player in the tournament. You'd expect a fat W from Magnus here. But that's not the result that we got in this dimension. I'm sure in every other multiverse out there, Hans Niemann lost this match. But in this one, the one that we currently reside, Hans Niemann won. He beat Magnus Carlsen. So that alone was enough to raise eyebrows, but what set off the cheating allegations and all of this speculation was the subsequent interview. When Hans Niemann was interviewed about this absolutely colossal triumph, he gave a questionable interview that was a little weird, kind of all over the place. And you'd expect that because he's young. Hans Niemann is a 19-year-old kid. You know, he's not like a chiseled old veteran, you know, he doesn't have like a graying goatee, he's not like a fucking Master Roshi or anything, like, so you'd kind of expect him to be a little scatterbrained here, which is what I thought. You know, now granted, I'm not like a chess authority, I'm not a top player, I'm a fucking tiny pea-brained 1100 player, but even still, you know, it's a young man who just pulled off one of the biggest upsets in chess history. I wouldn't have expected him to give a fully buttoned-up interview and analysis, but during the interview, he said that he actually studied the line Magnus played against him beforehand, which was setting off all kinds of alarm bells. Now, keep in mind, this is a massive upset. The chess community was more willing to believe the Earth was flat than believe Magnus Carlsen lost with the white pieces. So they were already a little on edge with some question marks, and when Hans Niemann said that he had actually studied Magnus's line, everyone immediately flocked to the chess database to see when Magnus played this line prior, and it seems he'd only ever played it once. So a lot of people were questioning, why would Hans Niemann study this line when it's not something Magnus is known for, it's not something he's ever really played before? Why would Hans Niemann have just studied this right before the tournament? So then they start picking apart the interview and noticing that some of the things Hans was saying weren't fully correct. And keep in mind, these aren't just like normal spectators, I'm talking grandmasters, like the best of the best chess players were all opining on this situation and giving their perspective on it. And then Magnus Carlsen made this tweet which really set everything off. Magnus Carlsen announced that he was withdrawing from the tournament following his loss to Hans Niemann, and then posted that very famous YouTube clip of the coach saying, "If I say anything, I'm going to be in trouble, so I'm not going to say anything." And obviously this is an insinuation of foul play. That's how the chess community took it. That's how pretty much any sensible person would take it. Him tweeting this out with the "if I say anything, I'm in trouble" and withdrawing immediately had everyone believing that Magnus Carlsen was softly accusing Hans of cheating. Following this, the biggest chess streamer in the world, Hikaru Nakamura, explained on stream that Hans Niemann had actually been banned from chess.com before for cheating during some matches. Shortly after all the cheating accusations came to light, Hans Niemann was then banned from chess.com. So, now you're all caught up to speed on what exactly happened, but you're questioning, how could he have possibly cheated? And that's where this conspiracy goes fucking insano style. The leading theory across all of the major outlets is Hans Niemann was using anal beads that vibrated to instruct him what moves to make against Magnus Carlsen in the match. I'm not fucking kidding. This is the leading theory on how Hans Niemann cheated against Magnus Carlsen. So in order to fully digest this entree, I'm going to need to explain how cheating in chess can possibly work. A lot of them are galaxy brain schemes. Now, for those that aren't familiar with chess, there's engines. There's basically chess bots that will always know the best possible moves in any given situation, any position on the board. One of them is called Stockfish. So Stockfish has actually been modified in order to fit in someone's shoe. And this was tested by an independent player who put the Stockfish bot in his shoe. He calls it Sockfish. And it was able to transmit the best possible moves for his match. And it worked to a pretty decent degree of success, though of course needed further refining. But the technology does exist. It worked by sending pulsing to his foot that would basically work like Morse code. So it would pulse and tell him what position to move what piece and where. So pretty fucking cool. Now, obviously, that's illegal. You can't sneak a chess bot to play for you. It's cheating. But I think the point of this experiment was to show that it is possible. And he didn't do this in like a legitimate match. He revealed to his opponent, who found it humorous. But it is pretty impressive technology. So it's not far-fetched to think that anal beads couldn't accomplish the same thing as James Stanley's Sockfish. If you take the same idea, where you take Stockfish in the Raspberry Pi for the shoe and use it for your asshole, it could send vibrations or pulses through your rectum and work the same way as Sockfish. It would vibrate your colon in a way that would tell you the position to move on the board. So it can exist. Like, it's not super far-fetched. Like, we're not in the realm of sci-fi. It's not a fantasy. You could technically make some kind of butt plug that runs Stockfish and just have it vibrate Morse code for where you should move your pieces. It can, theoretically exist. Now, whether or not Hans Niemann had a butt plug or anal beads in that did this, it's up for anyone's guess. Only God knows, and only Hans Niemann's butthole knows. The thing with chess cheating is you can never be 100% sure either way. Because for a grandmaster to cheat, they'd only really need to hear one thing, a cough, that indicates there's a tactic on the board, or anything, because they're all so good. If they just have even the slightest hint that there's something there, they will find it pretty quickly. So no one's 100% sure how prevalent cheating is. However, there's only been a few cases of cheating being caught at the top level. The most famous being about a decade ago during an Olympiad. There was a very high IQ plot to cheat where the teammate would send a coded text to another teammate, and then they would sit at a particular table which corresponded to a position on the board, and judging by where they were sitting, the player would then know what moves to make fundamentally. So by changing where they were sitting, they were transmitting information to the player, which obviously isn't allowed. Very galaxy brain shit, but this was caught and they did receive punishment for it. So yeah, it has happened before, but it's not something common. Now let's get back into this case specifically. Hans Niemann has been very outspoken. He's addressed all the rumors and every outlandish claim imaginable. He's been very open with everything. Now, I want to give my personal perspective here, and I've talked about it on stream. I don't think Hans Niemann cheated. I really don't. The security was super tight at this event, and they were very thorough with their checks. In chess, they have checks to make sure that you're not smuggling in anything illegal or anything unsavory, unprofessional. Nothing that would give you an advantage. So during the beginning of this match, I can't show you the clip, but I'll show you a quick picture. They had a guy with a wand scanning Hans's entire body, top to bottom, even going as far as to investigate his gum, even checking his shoes, probably looking for sockfish, checking every nook and cranny of Hans Niemann's body without actually doing a cavity search. He didn't give him like the Naruto 1,000 years of pain up the asshole or anything, but he came pretty close. And he didn't find anything. So I just think it's highly unlikely Hans Niemann was able to pull a fast one on the chess organization here. I don't think he was able to smuggle in any secretive nanobot anal beads, because I feel like that would have been picked up by the wand this guy was scanning him with. So again, I think he went all natural here, fully biological, no augments. I don't think he cheated bringing a bot in or anything like that. Now, Hans Niemann has given yet another interview going more in depth on cheating allegations from his past. Hikaru brought up that he was banned by chess.com for cheating in some matches, and Hans Niemann does confirm that when he was younger, he did cheat in some online matches. He says they were unrated matches. It was back when he was younger trying to grow his stream, and he had cheated back when he was like 12 years old as well in, again, online format, but has said he has never cheated in over-the-board chess. And this was very brave of him to be so open with his past of cheating online, because that's just one of those things that you don't really see a lot of people just tackle headstrong. That's something a lot of people bury. And I guess he was kind of forced to here since it was brought to light. But I still think being that transparent with it is pretty impressive, even if it is to the detriment of his career. I don't know how it's going to affect it going forward. Him being that open, I think, is pretty strong. And he is defending the legitimacy of his over-the-board career. In response to Hans Niemann's interview, Chess.com put out a statement saying that he will remain banned and that they had evidence that contradicts some of the statements he made, but Chess.com has yet to put forth that evidence for people to see. So as of right now, he's still banned and the evidence is hidden. And now I want to make it clear, not every Grandmaster is saying that Hans cheated. It's some of them that are standing strong that it's very suspicious how he beat Magnus. Some of them are claiming that all of his moves are a little too in line with moves that the chess bots make. But there are still a lot that support Hans, saying that, you know, Magnus just didn't play that well that day. So it's really just full back and forth here. But since the anal bead theory broke, there was even an offer for Hans Niemann to play naked for $1 million to prove he didn't cheat. This anal bead theory is what's really taken hold from the cheating scandal here. And it all started as a meme. I don't think a lot of these publications did their due diligence here. The anal bead theory was just kind of a joke on the chess subreddit. There was very few people that legitimately believed it. They just started talking about it just because it was silly. But a lot of these publications have picked it up as if it's something believable. And yeah, theoretically, it could exist, but I still find it very unlikely that it does. But the point is, it started as just a joke that's now become something much bigger. And Hans Niemann said he'll fucking play naked to prove he hasn't cheated. Like, he's being a good sport about the anal bead stuff. He said he'll just play full bare-ass chess to prove that he is an innocent man when it comes to over-the-board chess games. Now, I'd like to just briefly give my opinion on Magnus Carlsen's tweet, because that's what really turbocharged all these cheating accusations here. He made that tweet and then went complete radio silence. He hasn't spoken out about this since, when he's the one that really, you know, kicked the shit in the septic tank here and let it fester. I think it's a little, you know, embarrassing to make that tweet and then have no follow-up. He just very slyly insinuates Hans may have been cheating. He withdraws from the tournament, which is no small thing, mind you. That's a big gesture. But refuses to actually come in here and give his stance on it when he's the one that kind of started most of it. I think that's a little sad. I would like if Magnus Carlsen would elaborate on why he made that tweet and what it's exactly in reference to. Is he accusing Hans of cheating? Does he think Hans cheated? Or did everyone misinterpret his tweet? I don't like the ambiguity of it. I would really appreciate, and I think most people would appreciate, if he elaborated a bit on his position, since he's the one that, you know, he threw out the first move here going for like a scholar's mate potentially. So why not explain it a little more thoroughly? You know, tell us the line. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly get that out there because, you know, I feel kind of strongly about that. But overall, I don't think he cheated, but we'll never fully know. No one will ever fully know because there's no way it will ever be proven. But what a wild story regardless. Anyway, that's about it. See ya. Chess is something I feel needs no introduction. It's a game as old as time that I'm sure many of us have dabbled in at some point in our life. In fact, calling chess a game is doing it a disservice. It's a battleground that's reserved for only humanity's most intelligent minds to square off against one another in this coliseum of carnage, where only one will stand victorious, proving once and for all who is the smartest person on this planet. At least that's how some chess elitists view it. Why am I talking about chess? Well, chess has recently exploded on the internet, on Twitch in particular, thanks to one man, GM Hikaru Nakamura. He's a chess grandmaster, which is no small feat. It's an absolutely massive accomplishment, an achievement that only few people share. I know when you hear grandmaster these days, it's been watered down thanks to shit like being the grandmaster of some obscure martial arts where all you do is throw like invisible force fields to paid actors that fall over and you crown yourself grandmaster. So just that title alone doesn't carry weight, but in chess, being a chess grandmaster, that's the biggest honor there is. It is truly something huge and special. And Hikaru plays chess and shows his expertise on Twitch to a large audience. He's averaging over 12,000 viewers a stream, sometimes he'll get up to 30,000, and he was able to start really bringing chess to a wider audience and playing with other streamers like XQC. And it's brought chess to an audience that either hasn't played it before or is just now rediscovering it, so now everyone's hopping on chess and getting their cheeks spread wide open and double-fisted by someone you swear is actually fucking Sun Tzu come back from the grave just to spank your cheeks at chess, and it's just been a good time all around. A good time for everyone, but some of the chess elitists. You see, chess has had a long history of gatekeeping and elitism, so there's a lot of chess people in the community that are very upset with the fact that Hikaru has brought so many new people into it.
You got the dick riders, you know, like Hikaru's biggest example, obviously. And, you know, like, oh, you know, and then you go to Twitter, hey, Schwarzenegger, play me chess. And who's the other guy? The Greek Freak, play me chess. Oh, yeah, I'm friends with QVC. You know, then you got those guys. So, you know, are you kidding me? I mean, QVC and BoxBox, negative talent in life, nothing.
So this sack of sunshine here is GM Benjamin, another chess grandmaster who's very salty at Hikaru for positioning himself to be the face of chess right now. In chess there's two big names, there's Magnus Carlsen, who I'm sure most people know, and now Hikaru. And Benjamin doesn't really like that fact. There's been others, but Benjamin's been the most vocal about his disdain for new people coming in that aren't good at the game, which I think is super fucking silly, and he constantly says, like, negative talent, you know, XQC getting his fucking name wrong because he can't even do basic research, and BoxBox, you know, these guys have negative talent in life, equating being good at chess to being good in life. Like, these guys aren't good at chess, so they can't be good at anything in Benjamin's eyes, which is fucking weird because, Benjamin, you play a board game for a living. How's that different than them playing other games for a living? You know, at the end of the day, you're not some kind of master tactician that's doing anything for society. You're just playing a board game that people find entertaining to watch, and you're very good at it. It's not like the government's coming to you for strategy or anything like, shit, we don't know where to position our troops in the Middle East. Fuck, we need to get GM Benjamin on the phone. You know, he's mastered the Latvian gambit. He's a chess GM. We need him. Get him on the line. We need his input. I just think it's super silly to give this, like, level of prestige and elitism to chess. Yes, it is a game that requires a lot of intelligent thought and all kinds of strategy, as well as a lot of training. Most GMs start as a child, like a fucking chess prodigy to get to that level. But you know what else requires a lot of thought, practice, and dedication? Everything else in the entire fucking world. Chess is no different in that regard. So to have this level of elitism around it and gatekeeping, saying who is allowed to play chess, who is allowed to stream chess, is so fucking silly, and you just come across as a bitter asshole.
Nothing up here, nothing here. Just, you know, you guys are all idiots and they're like doing nonsense, and you guys are like, wow. So obviously, if you're a normal person who has talent, like Magnus Carlsen or, you know, MVL, Kramnik, you know, you ignore people with no talent, but Hikaru's like, oh, that guy has more money than me and he gets more viewers, so I'm going to try to get in on that. So.
Yeah, that's a cool take. If you're good at something, just ignore everyone who's worse at it than you are. That's a weird fucking perspective, man. Does that extend to, like, everywhere in your life? So, like, your wife, is she as good at chess as you are? Fucking making her show him that she's 2,800 in order to be able to sit at the same dinner table as him? You're an actual chess teacher, right, Benjamin? Like, you teach chess to people. Well, why? They're worse than you. Why are you associating with them? You're stooping down to their level to teach them your sacred game? Oh, it's disgusting. Oh, you're ruining chess by inviting these people to learn? Oh, disgusting, Ben. Now, obviously, his point he's making is the people Hikaru talks to and plays with are popular streamers. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are popular streamers, and it's made Hikaru more popular as well. So fucking what? Hikaru is a likable guy, he made it fun, made jokes, streamers had fun, joked, everyone was having a good time, so now more people are interested in chess. I fail to see how Hikaru teaching streamers how to play the game and having fun with the game is any different than you teaching anyone else how to play chess. I guess the only difference is the people Hikaru were teaching were popular, which means now he's not allowed to teach them. I don't really get your perspective on it, Benjamin. You seem to just be upset about it by calling him a dick rider. as if just talking to people on the platform and bringing chess to a wider audience is inherently a bad thing. It's a weird perspective that I've only seen from the chess community. If you go to any other game, even something like League of Legends and Dota, they love when new people come to their game to try it out. The more people playing a game, the better it is for the community that already plays the game and likes the game. The more people coming in and having fun, the better it is for everyone. Except Ben, and except for a lot of other actors in the chess elitism community. Because like I said, it's not just Ben, I've seen this from a couple others, but Ben, again, is the most vocal one about it, from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, if I look at XQC, I'll tell you what the reaction is. The classic chess world, what they'll say is, oh, this guy's no good at chess, he's so bad, why do we waste our time? Like, he's just no good at this game, so if he's no good at this game, he's nobody. Which is absolute rubbish, obviously, because as we all know, XQC, first of all, I mean, without talking about him as a streamer, he was a grandmaster at Overwatch, which, I'm sorry, but if you put me playing Overwatch for I don't care how long, or you put Magnus playing Overwatch, I'm sorry, we would be total noobs. Like, that's just a fact.
The elitism in chess is something Hikaru often talks about in a negative light. He doesn't agree with it, and it's something that he tries to escape from, and enjoys bringing chess to a wider audience, which somehow is almost taboo to a lot of these people that are chess grandmasters and chess high-level players. I just can't wrap my head around that. I also think it's especially silly for Benjamin in particular to take this hill to be the one to jerk off on, because he bans most people in his chat that disagree with him or have a different perspective on the issue, just to create an echo chamber around himself. But it is what it is. Benjamin thinks Hikaru is a dick rider just because he's playing with popular streamers and making chess more fun for everyone else around him, even people that weren't interested in chess before him, which I think is a great thing. Certain chess elitists think is a bad thing, and I just wanted to talk about this chess drama because I actually have been really fucking loving Hikaru's streams, and I've played chess for most of my life. I've never been very good at chess. I think the max I ever got was like 1500 maybe. That's definitely something Benjamin would spit on, shit on, and tell me to get the fuck out and quit on. I just finished the video and I'd actually gone on Twitch to watch Hikaru when I was greeted with another example of chess elitism and just general out-of-touch shit. So Hikaru streamed a Chess24 tournament, and Magnus wasn't happy about that, neither was Chess24, saying he was taking viewers away from the Chess24 stream, which hinders the growth of the sport entirely, which makes no fucking sense since Hikaru is the biggest in the chess community by far on the internet. Like, it's not even close. He is like 12 times the size of the second biggest chess streamer, so it's a bad argument to make. And it just doesn't make any sense because the Chess24 stream is a stream that only actual chess veterans can appreciate. The audio quality is ass. The commentary is very technical, using actual chess jargon and strategy. So to a casual viewer of chess, they're gonna have no fucking clue what's going on there. But going to Hikaru, he breaks it down for them and makes it fun. Whereas on there, yeah, you're not gonna get that same experience at all. So it's not like he was taking viewers away from Chess24, because if Hikaru wasn't streaming it, they just wouldn't have watched anyway, because they're not going to understand the actual Chess24 elite commentary. And it's also hypocritical because what they say is he did it on a branded stream. Hikaru has chess.com on his stream, whereas this is a Chess24 production. But that's hypocritical because Chess24 recently broadcast a competitor's tournament on their channel, so that's clearly a non-issue. They have no problem with that, but they're still using it against Hikaru just because they're upset that he had more viewers than the official stream. And they make it pretty clear because even in their own statement they acknowledge that they even gave him explicit permission to stream it, so they knew he was going to be streaming it, and they're still upset just because he had so many viewers. Chess has always just been an enjoyable experience, and I'm glad to see so many other people enjoying it and liking the streams that XQC, Hikaru, and all the other streamers have been doing for chess. I think it's been great. And the drama, the elitism, the gatekeeping, I think all of that needs to be fucking torn down at some point because it's just really silly and kind of pathetic at this point. That's about it. So yeah.